My next guests are watching a new wave of holy warriors and studying what is really inspiring them. I'll introduce our guest. Mohamed Elibiary co-founded the Freedom and Justice Foundation in Texas and joins me from Dallas. And from Paris, France, not Texas, we're joined by anthropologist and terrorism scholar Scott Atran. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Scott, first and foremost, can you explain to us what jihadi cool is? How is it cool?
Well, look, taking on the greatest power in the world is a pretty thrilling idea. And you get young people, more and more it's becoming a egalitarian worldwide movement where people hook up on the internet, late in high school. Mostly young people in transitional stages in life that haven't settled down into marriage or into jobs. And they want meaning in life. They want to be something more than the morning mist. And they hook up with friends. Usually they start just protesting their general state in life and hooking into the idea that Muslims around the world are being harmed. It's a pretty simple and flat message.
Okay, Mohamed, taking what Scott just said about finding meaning, how is this bringing meaning to life for these younger people?
Well, it's given them a purpose in life and a place to belong. So it's like a child who grows up and is not, especially for young males, as they're going through their late teenage years, a vital component is mentorship. That's why we've got Big Brother and Big Sister programs around the country. And if there's nobody to kind of help a young male, especially find that evolution into becoming a young man and taking on the responsibility of familyhood and the rest of it, then they kind of gravitate to a family, kind of like gangs, for example, is a similar model that you can look at. It doesn't exactly fit perfectly, but it helps to explain why they're searching.
But also, while they're searching for these mentors or idols or people to look up to as they're trying to create their own identity, they're also going online to find a lot of the information, I know. And they're also encountering what seems to be a generational gap, because the way they view the world is very different than the way their moms and dads are viewing the world. Scott, can you speak to that?
Yeah, look, you know, there's this idea that there's this clash of civilizations, but basically it's a collapse of civilizations. It's just the opposite. Young people are being unmoored from millennial traditions, especially immigrants into this country. And they go, as I said, they go out looking for meaning in life, and they hook up with their friends. And through friendship, you can do powerful things. You become committed to one another. No one ever goes out and dies just for a cause. They do it for one another. And again, nothing is more powerful than doing something for your friends and gaining esteem in the eyes of your peers. And it's pretty much homegrown. I mean, over 80% of all the plots, both in Europe and the United States, are done from the bottom up, from young people just meeting up with one another. Most of it stays in the realm of fantasy. But a few go on and pay their own way into Pakistan or Afghanistan and then come back with a mission.
Okay, so some of it stays in fantasy, some will not, and could create real tragedy and travesty. So Mohamed, what can we do to prevent such problems and just circumvent this need to belong, this need to have camaraderie and friendship at the very grassroots level?
It's quite complex, but I think it requires a much deeper partnership between government and community. Currently, on the government side, we don't have like a multi-agency counter-radicalization strategy here in the United States as comprehensive as a lot of other Western European as well as Middle Eastern countries have. So the only conduit you can connect to in the government is to call the FBI with a tip on somebody you feel is starting to head down a radicalization path, which in the very beginning is not much more than expressing out of mainstream political viewpoints, a constitutionally obviously protected act. On the community side, the elders in the community need to open up the former meeting places in the community, like the mosques, Islamic schools, and what have you, and make them much more welcoming to these young teenage especially the males, to be able to come in and actually have discussions on the hot political topics around the globe, and not feel like they have to gravitate to someone online in order to get a honest, speaking truth to power type of engagement, so that they can actually find that there are people who can hold the same viewpoints on foreign policy, for example, as they do.
So open the mosques, create conversation. And Scott, I know you also say part of the secret to solving this problem of being cool when it comes to jihad, which is how some of the younger people may perceive it, is to look to some comic books that you are most passionate about. Explain that.
Yeah, you know, one day I went to the White House for a briefing, and someone from Dick Cheney's staff said to me, don't these young people realize that if they don't take responsibility that we're going to have to bomb them? I said, what are you going to bomb? You're going to bomb New York, you're going to bomb London, you're going to bomb Paris. And so I distributed the comic books, and they're fascinating comic books. They speak to young people. It's called the 99. It's about these magic stones that are distributed around the world. They represent the 99 faces of God, of Allah. And as these young people find the stones and find themselves, their power increases for the good. And I don't think it's going to be governments or elders that are going to change the mindset of these people any more than it'll change the mindset of my daughters or son about who should be their proper girlfriends or boyfriends. I think it's got to be done at the level of those young people themselves, through youth community organizations and things like the Boy Scouts, you know, and high school football, which work to integrate immigrant communities and the rural to urban migration back in the beginning of the last century, were extraordinarily successful. And those kinds of things I think can work, but of course on a different level in our society today.
Getting back to the very basics of just being one with your community and having strong community ties is basically what you're getting at, instead of the online community where this violence could pop up, indeed. Scott Eltron, from the bustling and likely chilly streets of Paris, thank you so much for your perspective, and also Mohamed Elibiary from the warm and toasty studio there for us from Texas. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Appreciate the conversation.
Thanks to both of you, and happy holidays.
To you as well. Thank you.